Is going longer in your iron shafts faster? So I've got two demo shafts here, and one is an inch longer than the other. I've got two Shrixon ZX7 Mark II demo heads, and in the standard length club I've got a standard lie angle. So I've got standard lie, standard length. When I go an inch longer, I've got a flatter lie angle. So when I've got a standard length club sitting fairly flat on the floor, when I go longer, that toe sits higher up from the ground. So I've got a flatter lie angle on the longer club just to balance that out. So as I bring the club towards me quite a lot, I get the heel lifting off the floor. When I put the club away from me, the toes lifting off the floor. So I've balanced that out with the lie angle of the head. But what I'm really trying to do here is I'm trying to see, is going longer in the iron shafts faster? And if so, how much by? So a few years ago, I was working for Wilson Staff and I came across Anthony Wall on the European tour. His irons were 1/4 of an inch longer and 1 degree flat, maybe 2 degrees flat. But he basically went flatter in the head and longer in the shaft just to encourage a bit more speed. But it's a very specific build for him. And when I'm talking about this concept, I'm talking about the irons, maybe the irons and the wedges. I'm not necessarily talking about the woods, because that is a different story. And if you want me to go through this concept in the woods, do let me know in the comments. In other videos, I have tried a lighter weight shaft to see if I can get more speed through the ball. And I've also tried a lighter swing weight to see if I can get less weight in the head, even on the same shaft, to see if that lightness in the end of the club allows me to get through the ball with a bit more speed. But you need to go and watch those videos to see what came out in those tests. I am isolating just the length on this test to see if I can go faster, because I'm trying to isolate one thing in a golf club build that will help someone get more speed if they're really looking for it. And then maybe if I put all of those factors together, how much speed can I generate just from how the club is built? But that will be in a later video. So don't forget to subscribe. Very nice. Little draw, just the left-hand side of the green. I'm producing a certain amount of speed here. And if I now swap to the club that's an inch longer, but again, if I just go an inch longer, that toe's going to be up in the sky. And if we start here in terms of direction, if we go longer in the club, it then points to the left-hand side because that toe goes up. As the toe goes up, we point left. As the toe goes down, we point to the right. Okay, so 1 inch longer. Soaring over the other shots. It's landed further up and we've got some numbers on the box here. I've only hit one shot, let me hit a few. Tiny bit thin, but for a misstrike that's maintained what I was getting before. Through the ball quite nicely. Again, the peak height looks higher, so I'm covering more airspace, potentially because I'm putting more energy into the ball, that's going up and reaching a higher point. I will look at the specific data in a second. Interesting. More carry. I've got the same grip, the same size on each club as well. Nice. So it'd be good to see the left to right dispersion to see if 2 degrees is enough for an inch longer, because that change in lie angle relative to the floor will affect the direction left to right. So I just want one more shorter shot just to make sure we've got the same number of shots from each club. Similar pattern, similar direction, similar shape. That was ever so slightly thin and it's dropped short of the green. The thin shots on the longer shaft maintained a bit more distance. So first things first is dispersion. I've got very similar sized rings, one's just slightly further up. I am faster with the longer shaft. I have lower launch, I have lower spin, more carry. Dispersion between the two, I'm varying 3 yards, I'm varying 3 yards, it's the same. Side spin wise, I'm quite similar. I've got 777 against 780, so I'm not getting any different amount of curvature. Angle of descent on the shorter club is steeper by 0.3 degrees. Peak height, 119 against 119. I'm seeing a bit of variance in that, to be fair. So, okay, I've got 119 average but varying 7 yards from that middle point, 119 average but varying 3 yards from that middle point. These all seem a lot higher, much of a muchness in peak height. So if I go to just the club data, the swing speed, longer shaft 98 miles an hour, standard shaft 96.4, so that's worth quite a bit of swing speed. Strike wise, I've got 1.32, 1.32, that's the smash factor. If I misstrike it, it will go slower. If I strike it really good, it will go faster, but averaging the same, I thought that might change. I'm hitting more down on the shorter shaft. If you think a shorter shaft being here, I'm going down to the ball. A longer shaft, I'm going more along into the ball, so I'm not as steep on a longer shaft, which is possibly why that spin changed minutely. My in to out is about the same as well, although my highest in to out was on a longer shaft. I didn't get over 6 with a shorter shaft. So the shorter shaft being closer to you, you're more up and down into the ball. The longer shaft being further away, you're easier to get in to out. But if I were to combine that longer length with the lie angle, actually, so the average offline yardage is 8.2 yards with the longer shaft, so 8.2 yards left against 7.7 yards left, so it's very, very similar. But I needed to get the lie angle right to match that direction up. So if you go 1 inch longer, I think 2 degrees flatter is a good combination to get that from the ball. I've seen a higher increase in speed from the length of the shaft there than I did in the weight of it, but maybe if I can combine longer shaft, lighter shaft, softer flex, maybe I can get a compounded increase in speed. But length is showing me a bigger gain so far. I did also think that the longer shaft in an iron would give me a bigger dispersion, a bigger area of spread, but actually I didn't get a change in spread. I still hit the same sort of shots, just with more pace into the ball in comparison to the shorter shaft. So normally with irons, I'm trying to get the right length because I really want people to have the right posture. If you go a little bit too short, I see more problems than going too long. With the extra length on the club, maybe we can pick up a bit of speed at the same time, but I generally would use like the ping fitting chart to get people into the right length in the first place. So if you're looking at new golf clubs and you're going for a fitting, you're going to do some testing and you want to get the speed up in your swing, maybe try a longer shaft in that test to see how much speed you gain. Make sure you're looking at the direction of the golf ball, the quality of your strike. If your strike goes to put, then maybe it's not the sort of thing for you. We need to make sure we can function with the golf clubs. But longer shafts do create more speed in the irons. Now there is one more piece to this puzzle where if you go longer in the shaft, you'll get more bend in the shaft. If you go shorter in the shaft, it's got a bit less room to bend, so it will play a little bit stiffer. So if you're going an inch longer, you might want to go a little bit stiffer in flex. So if you're normally a 105 gram regular shaft player, try something 95 in stiff if you're going to go for this longer shaft concept. With a driver, we sometimes see increased speed from a longer shaft, but we sometimes compromise the strike. Sometimes we can have a bigger variance in strike on the face. So when the new Callaway drivers come in, I'm going to give that a go with different length shafts and just see what I can find from ball speed, direction, consistency, and all those lovely things. And I'll see you on the next video.